What's up guys, Jad's here, and in this video I want to showcase a new game that's just coming out called TERRAFORMERS, which is about exactly what it sounds like, terraforming Mars. I've had this game on my Steam wishlist for a few months now and I've been excited to check it out, so I figured what better place to do so than with you guys here on YouTube. So TERRAFORMERS is a strategy game focused on colonizing Mars set starting in the year 2050. You start off as the overseer of the Mars colonization project, and much like many of the games we talk about on this channel, you get to start by picking your starting scenario. Now, as for these scenarios, you'll always have the balanced option to choose from, plus 2 random scenarios. Each of these scenarios has a different spread of resources to start with, along with a few projects to get you started. We can see in the balanced scenario, we start with 50 power, 29 food, 10 water, 5 titanium, and we get to start off with a greenhouse farm and a habitation module. For the purposes of this video, we're just gonna start off with balanced. So bam, we've started. We're greeted with a pretty detailed Martian globe, which I love. If you zoom in, you can see all sorts of labeled features, which is pretty cool to see if you enjoy astronomy or planetary science at all. Up here, we have our support meter. This shows how much public support we have for our Mars colonization project. If this hits 0, it is game over. The project is scrapped and everyone will return to Earth. I learned this the hard way. I've lost a few times so far. But throughout the game, you will have opportunities to increase this and decrease this based on the choices that you make. And sometimes you'll get random events that decrease or increase. Just below that, along the left-hand side, are all of our resources. Food, power, science, which is like a currency you can use to research new building types, water, nitrates, silicates, titanium, and tritium. You will also later be able to set up trade routes with Earth using this button to export and import specified amounts of these resources. There is no money in the game. These resources are your lifeblood. Then along the right-hand side, you have the point of the game, meters showing the current state of your terraforming. You have a temperature meter, oxygen levels, ocean levels, which is basically a humidity meter because it also controls rainfall, and then a meter showing how much atmosphere you have, which serves to protect from radiation. In the bottom right-hand corner is where we will make most of our choices from. First things first, we need to select a leader for the first term of our colonization project. For each election, you're given 2 options. Leaders have little bios, skills, and specializations, and these will heavily impact the trajectory of your colony. All leaders have this explore skill in common, but then everything else is different. So for example, Jorge here gives us the ability to destroy rocks that might be in our way for free. We can reduce the resources needed for modular apartment structures, and if he's elected, he will also reduce the cost of building structures by about 15% while he's in office. Alex, on the other hand, is able to generate 5 extra food per turn, convert aquifers into ocean, and boost nitrates production by about 30% while in office. So I'm gonna choose Alex because honestly, I think food is way more important at first, and also cute kid with him. So now that we've elected Alex, we're back to our home screen and we can see our other turn options. Each turn is a 2-year chunk in game, and you can use 1 leader skill from the bar here and research a new project type. Your resources, support level, planet stats, those all update every turn based on the decisions you made the last turn. So along the bottom, we can see the projects we currently have on hand. These are what we selected to start with, so we have our greenhouse and our habitation pod. And here is our glorious starting colony. It's given a default name, but if we zoom in on it, we can change the name and the city color, which will come into play later as you expand your city's dominion across the globe. And we can also get started placing our buildings. You'll have a bunch of different things on your various planet tiles as you expand across Mars, but cities are the only type of map site that you can zoom into like this. So to get started, I'm going to place the headquarters. It can go into any of these slots, and once placed, if I hover over it, I can see that it provides 1 population unit. I'm actually not sure how many population that is. I'm assuming it's like, I don't know, 100 or something. And each turn, it will generate 1 unit of public support. Now I can try to place my greenhouse and habitation module I got from my starting scenario. If I hover over them in my bar, I can see the cost to build them. For greenhouses, it will cost me 10 water, and what I get from them. In this case, we can see that it will produce 1 food for me per turn. So we'll just place that, and we can see that I actually can't place my habitation module yet because it costs 30 food to put down. So I'm gonna have to wait for my little greenhouse to do some work. I'll have enough by the next turn. Alternately, I could use Alex's +5 food skill, but I kind of want to use his explore skill this turn. So back on our main planet view, you can see I can explore any of these locations, and it gives me a preview of the sort of resources I'll find there. Each location has a power cost to explore. The more tiles from the city, the more expensive. So let's check out this one. Looks like I discovered a titanium deposit. I can return and mine this in the future. In the meantime, we'll snatch up these resources we found while prospecting. And you can see that from that location I explored, another location unlocked. So that's kind of how your reach expands across the planet. And the whole planet's darkened right now, but the more you explore, the more of the planet will be illuminated. So let's finish our turn and jump 2 years into the future. So we can see the year advanced to 2052, our greenhouse added to our food stash by 1, and we also have the opportunity to research another project. Hovering over each of these shows you what they cost to build, as well as what resources they will cost to produce per turn. This generator, for example, consumes public support per turn if it's placed near housing, so you have to be strategic about where you place it. Now, you do not need to have the required resources to research these. You can just snag them while you can. It will load it up in your bar, and you can stack up to 8 projects in your little bar here at any given time. I'm gonna choose another greenhouse to get my food production ramped up. I can't build it yet because I don't have 10 water at the moment, but at least now I have it ready to go when I eventually get more water. And since I have enough food now, I can throw down my habitation module inside New York. And we can see the city growing in the background. I really like the artwork in this game. Before I advance another 2 years, let's choose which skill I want my leader to play. I think food is the way to go. And we'll take another turn. Every so often you will get these pop-ups during turns. One of the first ones you'll get is that a trade route has been established with Earth. Each trade route is equal to 1 import and 1 export. You can control which resources to import versus export down here. So if I want to bring in food, I have to give them 1 thing in return. I'll give them titanium, and this means that every single turn I will lose 1 titanium to Earth but gain 1 extra food. As you expand across Mars, you have the opportunity to place some different building types that increase the number of trade routes, and so the number of imports and exports you're allowed to do. Another type of pop-up you might get is an offer of support from 3 different corporations trying to earn your goodwill, and this is just a one-time gift basically. You'll also eventually get exploration satellites, which is basically like a free exploration skill that you can play every 3 turns. So now that we have our habitation module down inside our city, you'll notice a little number next to the city name. This is how many locations you can expand to based on that city's population. For example, if I want to mine this tritium deposit, I need to expand so that that location is under control of my city. So I'm going to click the number, click that location, and we can see that it has illuminated in green the color of New York. Now that I've done that, I have the ability to mine this location for a price, and it will produce 1 tritium every turn indefinitely. After 10 turns, or 20 years, your leader's term comes to an end and you need to select a new one. So as you advance through your turns and the years pass, your city will slowly expand and your little green, or whatever color you chose, lines will begin stretching out across the globe slowly but surely. And at some point, your city is going to fill up with buildings and you're going to need to found new cities. Certain planet tiles that you explore will have a little city symbol next to them, indicating you can found a city here if you have the required resources. Those cities can then be given a unique color and can be expanded in the same way as your original city. Now, there's 2 different types of buildings. Obviously, we have the ones that need to be placed in a city on one of those little circular spots, but there's also some very big structures that need to be put on their own planet tile, controlled by a city. For example, after a few turns, you'll unlock the bacteria spreader and get to choose what type of bacteria to research first. This bacteria spreader needs to be on its own planet tile, separate from your city, because it's so huge. Now, you can see that each of these bacteria types that we're choosing between generate small amounts of oxygen or atmosphere per turn, or temperature, in the area that you place them. Down the line, you'll also unlock a plant spreader and an animal spreader. You'll have the opportunity to select which life forms to import from Earth to use in these spreaders. Different bacteria, plants, and animals all have different temperature, oxygen, and rainfall requirements to be placed. So at first, you're only going to be able to do certain bacteria. So if you have some terraforming processes in effect, like your bacteria spreader, or maybe the CO2 plant, or the oxygen plant, as you move through turns, you can see the meters over on the right slowly increasing. Each meter has 30 little steps that when it fills up, the planet-wide value for that increases by 1. Eventually, you may be able to spread all sorts of animals, including Arctic rabbits, penguins, horses, and a lot more that I haven't unlocked yet. A variety of different plants. This is just a few of them. I'm still working on getting the oxygen and temperature levels up to adequate levels to support anything more complex than bacteria. You might also from time to time get a negative event, like a Marsquake, they call them, or a sandstorm that causes damage to your cities or some of your structures. You're going to need to spend resources to repair those as fast as possible, because otherwise your public support is going to tank. Now, there is a lot more to this game to be discovered, but I think this covers a basic introduction to it, and the rest you can discover for yourself. Some of my tips for early success in the game are to utilize your leader's special abilities. This guy, for example, whenever you get him, pick him. He looks sleazy, okay, but if you use his special CO2 import ability every single turn while he's in office, you can get a really nice head start on increasing the planet's temperature. It's also so important to be strategic about the placement of habitat modules in your cities. Some buildings, such as an entertainment center or public baths, just as 2 examples, generate extra support per population unit they're adjacent to. So this means it is highly advantageous to put the entertainment center on a tile that allows it to be adjacent to as many habitat modules as possible. You can relocate structures if you realize you placed something in the wrong spot, but you won't get the benefits from that for like 2 turns while the building is being relocated. Another tip is to stay centralized early on. Focus on expanding your city's control to its immediately adjacent planet tiles, so you have room to place some of the bigger buildings, such as a bacteria spreader, as nearby as possible. Now, my overall opinion on this game, I like it. For me, it's the right level of challenging where when I fail, I feel frustrated and want to immediately try again, convinced I'll have learned from my past mistakes. So I'm definitely looking forward to what else the game has in store as I make my way further into it. And I'm excited to hopefully spread polar bears across the Arctic region. I'm far away from that in my current playthrough of this, but someday. So let me know down in the comments if you plan on checking out this game for yourself, or if you have already, in which case, please share your thoughts on it. I would love to talk to other people that have played this game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.